Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the Expressed and Orgasmic Living podcast, the show that teaches you how to go from feeling stifled and suffocated in your life to expressed and orgasmic. Here you will receive tips on how to honor yourself, fulfill your desires, and feel truly alive again. I'm your co-host, Renee Faith, Orgasmic Soul Freedom Coach.
And I'm your co-host, Cherie Linnell, Life Expression Coach. Welcome to this week's episode.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Expressed and Orgasmic Living. I'm your co-host, Renee Faith, Orgasmic Soul Freedom Coach.
And I'm your co-host, Cherie Linnell, Life Expression Coach.
And today, we're talking about stories that stop us.
Mm-hmm.
Some stories stop us dead in our tracks when it comes to trying to build success in our life, right? When it comes to just living the best life that we can, living our dreams. We're stopped because of our stories.
Yep.
Where do you want to begin, Cherie?
Well, we get stopped in our stories. I truly believe that the reason for it is because someone told us in our formative years that we suck at something, that we suck at something, and we took it to heart and carried it with us all the way to our adulthood.
Yeah.
And it shaped all the decisions that we make for ourselves.
In those early developmental years, it's not always just what other people have said to us or about us, but sometimes it's what we've said to ourselves, the meaning that we've applied, based on whatever situation was going on at a young age. You make stuff up in your mind, and that's just what the ego mind is designed.
Really? Because I agree with you, but I also believe like how we talk to ourselves is because someone talked to us that way and made us feel like that's our identity.
Yeah.
And so that's what triggered the way we think about ourselves.
Yeah, and we're going to share stories. I know you have stories lined up to share. I have stories, and so you'll see how stories get made up.
Yeah. It's all story. It's all make believe.
So let's talk about, let's start with how you were stopped in life. Like, where did you find yourself stuck? Mm-hmm. And how did you drill down into discovering, hey, there's a story here that's not true, that's actually sabotaging my life?
Honestly, when we were preparing for this episode, it just came up, and it was an intuitive, like, this is like the perfect thing to talk about. I haven't even thought about it in so many years, and it just came to me, and I said the Kimberly Academy in Montclair, right? And I actually had to look it up to see if it still existed. It still does, right? And so what the Kimberly Academy is, it's a school for gifted students. And I wanted to go. I wanted to go badly. And I was told I wasn't gifted enough to go. So that meant I don't deserve to go because I'm not gifted enough and my behavior is not stellar enough because of my behavior. They used to have back then self-control as a grading, like as an academic, on a report card, self-control. And so my self-control grade was always bad. It was low, like F's, D's, F's. So that there packaged up the argument from my family that I'm not gifted enough and I'm incapable of handling such a school for the gifted. And so over the years, there were opportunities like gifted and talented shows and things like that in elementary school that I didn't even bother to try out for because I was told I wasn't gifted. So I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah.
And that went on. I'm realizing that this is how I move in life. I'm realizing the Kimberly Academy is a great example of how I'm moving in my life, that I'm not gifted enough. So my programs are not gonna resonate with potential clients. Or
How old were you, Cherie?
I was about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
What's 8? Third grade. Yeah, it was about in third grade, so I was 8. Yeah.
And these things stick with you throughout your whole entire life, right? And so
Yeah.
it was, you know, the words you heard were, you're not gifted enough.
Mm-hmm.
And what you made it mean was like, I'm not good enough. I'm just not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not enough. And that's a story that you've identified with.
Mm-hmm.
You're
And
across the
it's
board.
it's one of my mantras, one of my affirmations is I am enough. And I share it on my socials often,
Mhm.
highlighting the fact that you are enough.
Yes.
No matter what it is that you do or don't do, you're still enough. You're made perfect and whole.
Yes.
So that was something I had to learn about myself, that I am whole.
I love this whole process. I love the whole healing process, right? Because it's like wherever you're stuck in life, everything boils down to something that was made up as a child. All these, you know, it's inner child healing.
Yeah.
That's such at the core of what both Cherie and I do, and we believe so much in it because not only has our healing, you know, have our healing journeys been
Transformed us.
yeah, been so transformative. Thank you. Been so transformative. It's because of this inner child work, and we offer this up to our clients as well. And so we witnessed it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
How it literally changes a person's life when you can really drill down, find the healing, the inner child healing that's required,
Mm-hmm.
and then reprogram it. Yeah. So, and how we do, and what Cherie's doing now is she's using these I am statements of I am enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant. It's a reprogram.
I am gifted.
Otherwise, you're what, Cherie? You're literally, your 8-year-old self is running the show.
Yeah. Yeah. My 8-year-old self heard that she wasn't gifted and she wasn't capable of being gifted. So yeah. So therefore she's parenting me. Yeah. Right? She's parenting me in the now, where I need to be parenting her and letting her know that she's enough, so that it changes everything in that timeline. Yeah. To the present, you know?
That's like butterfly effect.
Yes, the butterfly effect. Yep. Yep. Go back to change how you feel, how you felt at that age, and it will definitely change everything else. It changes how you perceive yourself in the now. That you're unstoppable, you are enough, you are gifted, you are talented, you know, and that's where you meet the transformation. I
think it works because in science, they say there's no space and time.
Nope, you're right.
And so when you heal your inner child, when you go back, whether in your mind's eye or you know, Cherie has her own technique she'll talk about later. When you go back to your inner child and you heal that 3-year-old self, 4-year-old self, it ripple effects out to you because there is no space and time. So as your 3-year-old self is healed, you're literally getting healed. Yeah. My truth is that like your cellular body is changing as you do this inner healing work because you're releasing emotions, you're releasing traumas. So and these are traumas and things that were like living, emotions that were living in your body. Right? And so it's a real game changer. Yeah. I think for me, the story that came up right away, Cherie, was my 2 bears, my 2 teddy bears at Christmas story. And I've told this, my tribe, my old audience knows this story. It's actually a money story. So it was also 3rd grade. I mean, there's so many inner child stories we could share, right? There's so many stories we make up, but this was also 3rd grade. We were immigrants. My parents are struggling, not just with the language, but with, you know, finding jobs, making money, providing for us, right? Me and my infant brother. And so it was Christmas time. Usually we get pencils, pencil cases, stuff for school, practical stuff. This time around, my mother comes home with a teddy bear the size of like our entire upper body, right? Yeah. So my brother and I, so I'm 3rd grade, he's what 5? We're all squealing. We're both squealing because we're so excited. It's huge. And like 5 minutes later, my father comes home, and he, at this point in time, was working in New Jersey with like a different Chinese construction company. And so they weren't, and there were no cell phones back then. And so he had come home, And he walks in with this huge brown teddy bear. Again, huge, same size, you know, as our upper body. So now we're squealing because we're like, we have one each.
Right.
Then I hear my mother in the corner of the room talking to my father, and I hear her whisper to him, you should have communicated with me that you were getting something. We could have saved money and just gotten one.
Right. Mm.
My third grade self made up, right? Because I'm interpreting what they're saying and I'm making it about me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what human minds do. So I made up, oh, wow, I actually don't deserve my own bear.
Right.
I actually don't, we actually don't deserve two bears. It was an I don't deserve story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who am I to actually have my own toy, my own stuffy animal, right? Yeah. And this came up like maybe 5 years ago as I was really exploring what are my money stories, like what's stopping me from really bringing in more money into my life. And I had to work, kind of like you did with your I am enough. I had to reprogram my story to I deserve.
Right.
I am deserving. I deserve abundance. I deserve, you know, to have my own.
Mm-hmm.
So in this instance, it was me making something up. It was it was a child making up the story.
Now I'm curious, because you heard your mom say that, you know, we could have only just gotten the one, we could have saved money.
Yeah.
Did you like later interpret that as you have to always share your stuff? Because that's how my brain would have took it. Like, it's time for, I have to share everything.
So that's so interesting you say that, right? Because two people in the same situation will make up two different stories.
Yeah.
we kind of heard this. I think Wayne Dyer, you know, made mention of this or whatever. Two exact same situations, environments, two different boys. I think it was orphans was his story. One went on to become an achiever. Mm-hmm. The other one made it mean something bad about himself, like their situation or whatever it is. So yeah, that's a really, you know, I could have made up that I had to share, but for me personally, it was more of an I don't deserve.
You don't deserve.
And when we do this work of inner child, when we do this work of identifying what the stories are, you want to really be mindful of what your own language is. Mm-hmm. Right. And so as a coach, I'll say to people like, try this on, but in the end, what was your language? What were the words that you actually used? So tune into, you know, what you're saying to yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so how interesting. I love that. You make up so many different stories and it literally affects your finances. Yeah. Affects how you parent. It affects how you show up in your business, how you show up in your life, how you show up with your friends. Yes. So my sister, I have a sister that died in Burma when I was 4. Mm-hmm. She was 5 or 3 and 4, something like that. We were only a year apart. But that sister dying, she had died at night. Did I tell you the story? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so she had died at night. So I went to sleep and she was alive and fine. I woke up and she was gone because they had rushed her to the hospital in the middle of the night. And so my 3-year-old, 4-year-old mind made up the story that she left me. Right. That's not a fact, right? She died. She didn't leave me, but she died. But the story was I was abandoned. She left me. And so I struggle, not with partners, not with my children, but with friends where the story is, I don't want to get too close because they'll leave me. So I leave them first, right? So I'm really quick with cutting people out of my life. And that's been something that I've been working on for many years. And I've made progress with it. Why? Because I discovered the source of it, the story I created. I've worked with my own inner child to heal. And so changes and shifts are showing up in life now.
Yeah, I have a somewhat of a similar story where I'm avoiding the inevitable. My mother's mom, my grandma, she passed away. I was about 23, something around there. I don't remember how old I was, but I knew I had my son, Shamar, at that time. And I remember going to my grandmother, my father's mother, and I told her she's not allowed to die. because these two women were like game changers for me in growing up. Like there were two different personalities that I needed, right? So one of them dies, and I tell the other one she's not allowed to die. She's still alive. She's 90. And I'm afraid that she's on her last days. And I know my logic side knows that I can't tell her she can't die. You know, I did, and my grown ass self said to her recently, she can't die. Remember the promise you made me? You know? So, uh, where was I going with this? So I avoid talking to her. So like you couldn't get close with other people. I literally avoid talking to her. I don't call her because the last time I spoke to her, she was alive. She was happy. I said what I said. So I don't talk to her. And then I do call her. When I do call her, I'm so scared that might be the last time, you know, and I don't go to funerals. I don't do those things. I don't pay my last respects because when my grandma died, it kind of messed me up for funerals later on. And I refuse to have my grandmother pass away.
Yeah.
So
the pain
yes,
that we experience, and then the coping mechanisms that we create, right?
And my coping mechanism is only going to hurt me. I realize that. My logic self realizes that. So I know I need to get over it somehow and maybe talk to my 6-year-old self, because my 6-year-old self lost her grandfather. And that was quite traumatic for me too, because I saw things I probably shouldn't have seen at the gravesite.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that really messed me up for funerals later on. I won't go to I can't, unless they were like tight family, is the only way I would go. But I would have such anxiety because I'm afraid I'm going to see what I saw at the gravesite. Recently went a few years ago to my husband's grandma's funeral and wake. And again, I was afraid I was going to see what I saw, you know? So I just don't go together, because my grandfather dies and that was the first time I see what I saw. And I carry that and I tell my grandmother she can't die. It's
the language you just used, right? I carry that.
Yeah.
Like we literally carry our past with us.
Yeah.
And so as a 3-year-old, as a 6-year-old, you know, we were hurt. Something super painful happened, overwhelmingly painful, that we couldn't cope with it as a child. So what did we do to survive? We built armor. And the armor in these cases, it's in the form of stories. It's in the form of these I am statements. I don't deserve, I'm not good enough, I'm not gifted. It's all to preserve ourselves and not be hurt again. Then just all these walls we've built up around our hearts.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's all in our head.
Say again?
That's it. And then it's all in our head. We put all these walls around our heart from things that come out of our head.
And so, but understand, for all of our listeners and viewers, I know Cherie gets this, these walls that we build up to protect ourselves filter out the good and the blessings that we want, that we pray for.
Yep.
Right?
Facts.
So, so we want to break down these walls. How do we do that? It's really going back to that 6-year-old self, that 3-year-old self, and saying, I know it was super painful. It was super overwhelming, but you're safe. And then telling your current self, I don't need these walls anymore. I needed it then when I was a child. There's no need to take that armor and keep it on today.
That's
because, and be super clear, guys, because it is blocking out that which I am trying to call in, the success, the love, right? the love, all these walls around our heart, all these walls around our whole life.
Yeah.
So this is the work that Shireen and I offer up. This is the work that has changed our lives and the lives of so many of our colleagues and clients.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
everything.
And it's Renee helps me and vice versa. Sometimes, you know, as a coach, like we said before in another episode previous to this one, that coaches need coaches.
We mirrors.
Yes, we need our mirrors. Oh my gosh, I remember I read in your book about mirrors. Remember I was you were talking about
The Louise Hay technique.
yeah, and how difficult that was for me.
Talk more about that.
Just to look at myself in the mirror and like hold my gaze, that's kind of hard to do.
So that's a Louise Hay technique, and that's a Louise Hay technique. It's the mirror. It's called mirror work, and where you're supposed to just look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, "I love you."
Right.
Tell yourself, "I'm good enough," or "You're good enough." It's like you're speaking to your inner child when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, right? Mm-hmm. You could go that way. I use that, over a decade ago. It works. It absolutely works. I now do it through the mind's eye. I'll have myself and my clients like work with the inner child in the mind's eye. So you bring up that child, your 3-year-old self, and really just imagine, like seeing that scene of trauma, whatever that scene was. Most of the time it's your inner child crying. Mm-hmm. And I would just have myself or people I'm working with hug your inner child and say to that child what you needed a grown adult to say to you.
Yes.
So my mother was not there. She's grieving that her eldest child just died. So she couldn't be there for me. Right. So I had no adult really helping me cope at all. Plus she had an infant son. So an infant child, eldest died. She was not in the right headspace. Right. So I tell myself what I needed to hear, which is, there's everything's going to be okay. You're safe. You're loved. And it was really more just hugging my 3-year-old, 4-year-old self, right? Yeah. Letting her know it's okay. Oh man, it's inner child work is deep.
It is deep. It is deep. And my method of it is to actually find a picture or something, something that's starts with an R. Why can't I pull it up? Relevant to your childhood. And talk to it like you would need your parent to talk to you, like you would need to parent that child. And also using the timeline method, like I would have them start from where they first felt this way and other like pivotal moments throughout their lives up until their present time, how that kind of make them feel on each of those milestones, and then tell me how loving on your inner child, right, and giving that child the love, imagine how that would have changed each of those moments to now, and then make it so. Yeah, there's no difference between time and space, and things will change if you want it to change. And it could be the story. I mean, you believe the story there, so you can change the story and change the dynamic of your timeline.
I like the extra mile you go with that, right? Because you're actually, when you say pulling it through the timeline, you're having them kind of daydream out how life could have been different at every pivotal milestone. Yeah. And that's effective. I really like that. That's effective because what you think and what you believe comes to be, because I think everything starts at the mental level, and in order, and like that's the direction things manifest in the physical world. It starts with the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and then it shows up in the physical world, right? So yeah, great technique. I love that.
Yeah, it worked for me.
Yeah. Awesome.
It works for me, and realizing now with the Kimberly Academy, when we were prepping for this show, I'm going to do that again for that. I'm going to do my timeline and look at my inner child, my 8-year-old self, through those methods, how what being told that I'm not gifted and I'm not talented and incapable of behaving, how that would have been if I wasn't told those things. So imagining my life as if I went to Kimberly Academy,
Yep.
and I graduated Kimberly Academy, what would I have done? Because I'm gifted and talented, what I have done,
Yeah.
and just make it so that I've done these things. I've done these things, and I know for sure and for fact that I am gifted and talented.
And then choose that, right?
Yep. And choose that. Yep. Choose that, throw that old story away and choose that one. And
the power.
It's effective.
The power is
Mhm.
in our hands. It's with us. If we do
Yeah.
this healing work, we can really change our lives. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I invite our listeners and our viewers to really consider where are you stopped in life? Where do you feel blocks, right? Like, do you feel like you're not able to manifest money in your life successfully? Do you feel like you're not able to live out your dreams? Are you being stopped when you're trying to choose to honor yourself? And in those moments of where you feel stopped, what is it you're saying to yourself? And it's usually going to be an I am statement, right?
Yes.
And then you drill down, or you work with a coach to help you drill down into, well, where did that stem from? And you uproot that.
Yep.
At the source.
Pluck it right out.
At the source of it.
Yep.
So, I want our viewers to really drop in the comments, like, what's coming up for you?
Yeah.
What's coming up for you as you're hearing Cherie's stories, as you're hearing my stories? Like I said, this inner child work, and as we really drill down into our healing journey, it's deep.
Yeah.
Deep. And I think as coaches, we hold this sacred space for people to really go deep. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? Like I've had clients kind of tap into old memories of different types of abuses. Sometimes it's not comfortable, but it's so necessary to take the 3-year-old, 5-year-old self out of the driver's seat and put your current self in the driver's seat.
That's right. Yeah.
In truth, that's what's happening. Your 3-year-old self is leading your life right now.
Leading your life. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like I said before, your inner child is the parent. Is the parent in your current life, in your present. And what needs to happen is that you in your present need to be the parent for your inner child. Yes. Switch that dynamic right up.
Take the reins back of your life.
Yep.
Awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Stories that stop us?
No, I don't have anything, because actually on my mind is that Kimberly Academy story. And I need to, after we're done with this, I'm going to do my timeline. Okay. Yes, I'm going to process it, because in our previous conversation, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
My 6-year-old self and what my 6-year-old, no, that was this one, my 6-year-old self. But we did talk about it in our previous episode about embracing and loving on your inner child.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So it's coming up for me that this is some work that's definitely unfinished with me. And it's a process. It's a healing process. It's a journey. It's a journey. It'll come up for you.
Yeah.
When you least expect it to come up for you. And then you make the decision to handle it like almost immediately. Yeah. Because you don't want to carry that another day.
That's true, right? So like as things rise up to the surface and you're shining the light on it, like you become aware of it, that's the time to heal it. Yeah. Because if it's deep within ourselves, it's hard to access it, to release it. So when it comes up, work with it. As uncomfortable as it may be, let those emotions come out of you, right? That's a good point. And I think it's funny that we both sighed at the same time earlier, because this work, as juicy and as beautiful and as sacred as it is,
it's a tough one.
It's a tough one. It can feel a little heavy. It's discomfort, but you know what? Like when you're growing, when you're changing, you're shedding, right? It's like animals and the caterpillar turns into a butterfly. It's this visceral shedding that you do. So you're gonna feel it in your body. There's gonna be discomfort.
Yeah.
So expect it and breathe through it.
Breathe through it. I mean, even if net, if you know you're about to go through a battle, just meditate, be still in the moment, clear your mind, and start with a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Don't carry any old energy with you. Just try to clear your mind. I mean, you'll never really clear your mind, but just get it to a peaceful state of mind where you can now approach it.
So let's talk about ego a little bit, because I like how you brought up the importance of stillness, right?
Yes.
Like stillness is really important to let yourself be with that pain again. That's the discomfort, being with that pain again.
And our ego won't allow it though.
That's that tricky ego.
Yeah.
Tricky ego, right? It's like, oh no, you got things to do. Don't look at that.
Yeah.
You're too busy. Like, forget the healing work. Don't work on yourself. That was too painful. But the ego's really just trying to protect us.
Yeah. It doesn't want us to hurt.
But we just have to let the ego know it doesn't serve you right now. The armor doesn't serve you. The stories don't serve you right now. So it's this conscious choosing. Like we said just earlier, it's this conscious choosing of transformation. You're choosing to become that butterfly, to shed that, that old skin, to shed that old story.
Yep.
It's a choosing. Yeah, breathe. Everybody breathe. Collective deep breath. Woo.
Yes.
But to be human is to go through pain and trauma, isn't it? I don't think any child escapes.
And what are your thoughts on this? Because I think it's counterintuitive, but I've heard other coaches say that it's also a good idea to confront those who have hurt you as an inner child.
Like your mother.
Yeah.
Your family member.
Right. To me, I find that counterintuitive, because what you're doing is you're being the parent you needed. So the confronting someone else is actually putting that person in charge of that inner child again.
And they may not be equipped to.
Right. Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot that's what's being recommended. And I'm like, no, that wouldn't work.
No, I think it depends on the individual situation. I think it's hard to say. I personally don't think it's necessary. I think it's placing the burden on the other person who may not be ready, or like I said, it may be re-traumatizing.
Exactly.
Re-triggering. You don't want to invite that pain again, right?
Right. Yep.
You can only control your experience and the stories you make up.
Yep.
That's all in your control. So,
yeah, because you're still just creating a new story of the old thing.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. I'm glad you think the same way. I thought about that. It just came to me, like, I remember hearing a bunch of coaches saying in agreement with each other to confront.
Even therapists will say, write them a letter.
Right? Yeah. What's the point in that? Because I wrote the letter. I've gone to therapy. I'm in therapy, and I've done that exercise. Yeah. It really just pissed me off.
But you know what, though? I think there's a time and place for that letter.
Yeah.
So I think for those who are not so in tune with their anger, not so in tune because they've shoved it down. Yes. I think the exercise of writing, getting it out of your head and on paper, and with the movement of your hand, there's something about that that like jogs the energy. Yes. In order for you need, like I said earlier, the old emotions and trauma are deep in your cells. It needs to come to the surface to be released. So the writing brings it up to the surface.
Yeah. And every emotion that comes out it comes out. It comes out, your rage, your sadness. Like for me, it came out as anger. I was pissed off, but someone else might just have a full-on meltdown and cry because that's how bad it hurt. Like that's what the inner child did, and for me, yeah, my inner child would get really angry. So
And that
yeah,
can be cathartic, right? Because it's
yeah,
so much suppressed that you want to release it. um I'm not I'm not saying the other techniques don't work. I just want people to be,
there's a right time for it.
yeah, there's a time and a
Yeah,
place, and be mindful that as things come up, I think it's so important to have the right professional to hold space for you,
absolutely.
especially when it's so traumatizing, and you don't want to re-traumatize yourself,
Yes,
right?
you need a trauma informed type
Yes.
coach or just a full on therapist.
Yeah.
Because even though my therapist did that and I felt the way that I did, she did what she was going to do and she got the outcome that she expected. That I worked through that. I worked through my rage and my anger and was able to just rip the letter up because I didn't have to give it to her, to my mom. It's just, I'm over it. Whatever, what that thing was.
Yeah.
But
And
I,
the other thing is that bypassing, right? It's like, for people in our metaphysical community, sometimes it's like, well, just choose something other,
yes,
right? And they bypass the healing and the inner child
yes,
work that's so necessary, in my view. And they just
it
go, okay,
is.
well, I'm just going to declare XYZ and I'm done with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's like a car with a flat tire. I declare you fixed, and you go on your merry way. Now you're just jacking your car up even more. Now
Yeah.
you broke the whole I don't know cars, but you broke the tire. Now the tire's bouncing in the street. Now you're on the rim, the rotors, or whatever the heck that is.
Right.
You're having sparks, and all
Hubs. I
because you
don't know what.
decided to say, I declare you fixed. That's not how that works. You have to do the repairing.
You've got to do the inner child work.
Yeah, you got to do it.
It's everything. That's the source of it all for
Mhm.
me. And what I've seen over and over again, and what
Yeah.
I've seen over and over again. So, oh goodness.
Tell
I
us in the
mean,
comments what you think, right?
you and I, we have a ton of stories,
Yes, we do.
ton, but we're not going to stay here for 3 hours sharing
Yeah,
all
we
those
can't.
stories.
I would love
Yes.
to, but we can't.
So how many years have you done this healing work on yourself?
Ooh, a whole bunch of years. Um, Better part of maybe 15,
Okay.
15 years. And then it led me to actually seeking therapy and getting a diagnosis of the bipolar disorder and ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing healing around that, the acceptance of it,
Yeah.
and then finding my purpose and rediscovering a purpose within that, knowing that I have the bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
That is not a crush. And I like how you put it, you're more than your mental illness. And I use that. It's a
Yeah.
good one. I am more than my mental illness. That's a great affirmation. So I use that in my marketing now because
Don't
it works for
don't waste time.
me. Hmm.
Seek a professional. So
Yes.
things started to fall in place for Cherie
Mhm.
because she finally sought that therapist,
Yep.
or psychiatrist, and got that diagnosis done.
Hmm.
Um, don't wait. Like, sometimes you just need to invest in a therapist, a coach, or
Yeah.
whatever, a professional to hold space for you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I hear they got affordable options now. Like this is totally just me talking about it just because I've seen it, not sponsored or getting any money for it, but like BetterHelp.
yeah, BetterHelp, I've used them actually.
BetterHelp, yeah. You're using it?
No, I used it right after I split with the
Oh, okay.
ex.
So yeah, there's that option, that you can um take. I never took it, but I just know that it's out there, but you took it. Maybe we could talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
I don't
I,
know.
I just I just want to say, reach out to us as well
Yes.
if you feel like there's something there that is of value. If you see that we can offer your life value, do reach out. There's different ways to work with Cherie. There's different ways to work with me. You can check out our
Mhm.
websites, CherieLinnell.com, ReneeFaith.com.
Yeah.
Um, and something Cherie said in an earlier episode, like, don't waste any more years.
Hmm.
Don't waste any more years.
Find out, get to the root of it all. Just, don't waste the years and get the help that you need, and you'll have a professional perspective, and you'll never know like where your healing will take you from there, where that journey is going to take you. Because with the knowing and the understanding of what it is, the challenges that you have in your mental health challenges, deciding, just learning what that is, the definition of it, and the symptoms and the prognosis and all that other stuff will help you work with me for one thing, because you'll have some kind of treatment plan, and I can help you with finding your purpose, setting goals to, in the midst of all of that. Yeah. So that's how I can come in to help.
Yeah. It's so valuable.
Yeah.
So valuable. Again, it's that mirror that you can't see yourself. You need that mirror, someone to show you. And Cherie has walked the path. Like, she's on the other side of this journey. And so she can certainly guide you. Oh boy. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Tune into our next episode next week. We always love getting your feedback in the comments below. So do connect with us there. Until next episode, have a great one. We will see you again soon.
Bye now. See you later. Or you'll see us later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a like and subscribe. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments, and visit us on our websites, reneefaith.com and cherielanell.com, to learn more about how we can serve you on your journey. All links below in the description. See you next week's episode. Bye now.